All right, let's check these guys out. So obviously a hard thing to do is go in and play the Lions with all the offensive weapons that they have. But one thing you notice early is the Lions found out if you get into 12 personnel, and they did this very all over the first quarter. The Bengals aren't a very good pass rush team. Obviously, they have Trey Hendrickson, and he's going to win. Miles Murphy's first round pick from 2023 really hasn't shown up. Shamir Stewart, the guy that was holding out this year, the first round pick, started off great. He got an ankle injury in week 2. Not showing you much now. He's been out for the last couple of weeks. Don't think he's going to expect to play versus the Packers. So when you watch this team, whether they're playing cover 2 or playing a middle field closed, the play action is open for business all over the field when they get into these 12 personnel packages. And obviously you look at, okay, 12 personnel, you got 2 tight ends in the game. Can we do that? Well, the Packers can absolutely do that. And the key here is obviously, let's go back and have some fun with this route first. So this is just a trips with a wing look here, tight end attached. And they're playing zone. They're playing man all over the board. But we just kind of get bullied here at the front. Coming through. And so when he just gets this real easy release, talking about Sam Laporta, we clear out of there. We hug up here. He'll probably do some sort of flat release at the end. Other side doesn't really matter. And these are the kind of things that are just open for business. I think if you have good tight ends, particularly if you have a Tucker Kraft on your team, you just feel really good about this because they have to respect the run. Obviously, you get into that personnel package. And the Lions did a great job, quite frankly, of running the ball enough out of this personnel package that they had to really respect the run. Those linebackers had to sink in. Trey Henderson over here was Penei Sewell. And really, if you can get that block, I mean, these other guys are good players. TJ Slayton we see in there. But if you get that block over here and Sewell ends this one, obviously the way you want to see all these ended is with a guy on the ground here. But if you get that block, you feel pretty good about your chances. Okay, so they do another up and back, 12 personnel, another tight bunch look over there on the top of the field. Now they're running a two deep look. They come and rotate back down. What I love about this play and why I brought this up was that when you're the Detroit Lions and you got Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, like you don't even need to block the linebacker. They don't even block this guy. So we got 2 here for 1 and 2, and they're just like, you know what, we're good. We'll just drive this guy out. We'll let 55 sit in the hole. 55 is a really good player, but speed. So they do a good job on the double team here with the right guard and the right tackle. Really moving bodies. But you just see again, there's sometimes you just gotta appreciate the athletes that are in the NFL, man. That's impossible. These guys, you think in the box as you watch this team, these guys, despite that play, I think they do a pretty good job with their box guys playing physical in the run game. They're like 16th in the league in yards per carry. The problem is their offense sucks to turn the ball over all the time. They get too many chances. But what you will find out is this in the secondary and in space, I should say, whether it's the linebackers, whether it's the safeties, corners, in space, you just don't feel good about their ability to tackle. That's Laporta again making a big play, but the reality is sometimes you walk these guys out into these defensive ends, you try to drop them into space, man, they can't make open field tackles like that. So hey, again, 12 personnel. And there's a theme here too. 1, they got the 12 personnel. 2, they get down into this tight look where they really got the 3 receivers. So these aren't, necessarily traditional bunch looks, but you can kind of look at it like that. And because the Bengals have a hard time, the fantastic part about this for Green Bay, I think, is there's so many people up on the line of scrimmage that regardless of, you really look at it, you got a 4 and you got 1 in the back. 6 people up on the line of scrimmage with the speed that the Packers have, the speed that the Lions have, obviously. You just feel good about your ability to separate. And that's what ends up happening here. Laporta gets out on an outside linebacker. but the time, the lack of pass rush, you've got guys that can work. Henderson ends up winning here. And again, he might be a guy. I don't know if I have the end zone copy of this, but he might be a guy that you always just sell the back to. It's like, why not? They really don't have another guy over there where you're thinking like they have a real chance of beating us. 2nd and 2 look, another bunch. Now they're in nickel, I believe. I just put this in here, a little speed out. We see this from Romeo Dobbs, probably one of the kind of foundation plays we've been running the last couple of weeks, whether that's Dobbs, whether that's Dontavian Wicks. Easy stuff. If you're the Bengals, you got to be a little gun shy at some point. So they're playing off. This is kind of an all you can eat. You see the high corner here. His back turned to the sideline. Put that conflict player, the apex player in conflict. I think these are a good physical team in the box. Obviously you're dealing with a powerhouse to juggernaut with the Detroit Lions right now. Go back to 11. The Lions like these, kind of close splits, which allows really all of this other space. You think about, why do these teams do that? Why are they split in here? Why are they so tight to the tackles? It's like you guys got all of this space, man. You got all this space you got to account for now. And really, it's always interesting to see like how this guy is gonna set it. It makes it real obvious for the quarterback how they're gonna line up in their stance. I put this in here because Hendrickson wins, gets the sack fumble. This ends up being a fumble and a turnover. It's the one turnover they had in the game. Hopefully we can get him coming out of the side here. The screen's not always what we want it to be. But he's just a special player. And there's a handful of times in this game where he gets a straight rush. This is one of those things where offensive line coach is like, all right, you're in a 3-point stance, fantastic. Is that the best idea with that guy? I mean, are you able to get out of your stance at this stage in the game where you're not setting flat? You always think about what's the biggest issue with this kind of set or this idea is if you start setting this way, trying to get out there and get your hands on him and push him off, like his edge is just he's got to get that far and he's got all that space, man. It's not a hard game. But that's why they paid him. Good player. Got to account for him. Really the guy on that team that you have to account for. Always an interesting conversation too, right? Like they bring him in. Obviously Joe Burrow gets hurt, so that's one of the reasons they're struggling a little bit. But you bring a guy like that in, defensively, he's such a difference maker, but then again, he's not a difference maker. They're, I think, 30th in points per game. Henderson wins again here, but we're really going to look at the top where they're running the TE game and end up getting a sack. Going back, they zone this off in the middle. They go to the trip side. They bring down the safety and try to poach this on the crossers. These guys are, I think this is Miles Murphy here coming off 99 and running off the TE. And really you got two, this is their NASCAR package. They got 3 defensive ends in the game, 58, 99, and then Henderson over on the left tackle. This is the kind of stuff. I think they're just so much better out of a 4-down line. I mean, every time you watch their pass rush versus, when they're in their 3-4, it's just not very good. But the 4-3, they do things a lot better out of 4-2. Unfortunately, you can manipulate them. They're pretty solid when you go into 12 personnel. More often than not, they're going to be in that 3-4 look. Here they are again. We can call that 21 or 12. Doesn't really matter. They're just back in that same look. They're a physical team. They pride themselves on it. This is the hard part about for guys that don't know. Like this is the hard part about playing 33 looks or 32 looks, 34, like whatever you want to call it. They have 58 outside here, but realistically, when you look at this, you got 2 4 eyes. It's just the angles kind of suck. I mean, playing and prepping for a 3-4 team is really hard because those angles are tough. Like, how do you want to attack that player? If you want to down block with this left tackle, like he's not down in that gap already, so you really have to win. You watch 90 here versus Taylor Decker, and he just tosses them, gets in the play, ends up making it, and he probably oversells it a little bit, but talking about Decker, bad footwork and everything, but these guys are physical players. I like what they do in the box. It's just once you get outside that box, man, you get in open space. You got real troubles. All right, we got a 1st and 10 look here. They're back in that, that 21, that 12, however you want to look at it. They're back in their 34 defense. They go single safety high. I mean, look how open these players are. And this is, at different points in the game. If you watch this game in kind of chronological order, you understand why the situation is what it is. But watch the sell here, the under center play action, and what that does to these guys. The safety, the backer, everybody's hugging, everybody's looking. Eyes are on the quarterback, but nobody's actually rushing, right? These guys are not actually rushing. So it's the best of all worlds when you think about, really these guys are the only people that are off the ball enough to be in play as far as pass pro, or excuse me, as far as pass defense. And so when you come back here, like everything on this field is open. He could throw it to the first level, the second level. Then obviously like tackle the football. Takes 3 guys to get him out of bounds. This is what it's all over the tape. There are plays that are not 12 personnel in this game, but it kept coming up where like these are a lot of really good plays. Now here's a run that ends up working. I put this run in at the end just really to show like if you keep pressure on the backside here. So, this is really just a very simple, basic blocking scheme. But we're gonna go here. Oh, what am I doing here, Mike? Here we go. We're just down. We got a double backside. We're back and we're back. Okay. And we're just going to lead here, and he's going to end up bouncing this out the backside because key blocks here, pressure here, and then Decker goes out and makes and puts pressure on the defensive end. That constant pressure here, just not being able to get your ass in the hole and then push back out, makes these plays. These are some of the things when you talk about the Packers, like what can we get better at? It's this little stuff, really being attacking on that backside, not just giving up and walling off, not being a position blocker, but actually trying to drive out. I'll show you what I mean here. Watch the left guard. Again, you know what you're going to get. But see, he just keeps that pressure. He actually moves that guy off the spot, ends up putting him on his face, right? But a lot of times you see in this game nowadays, what does this player do? This player starts looking back and then just ends up kind of positioning himself in the hole. Maybe he gets pushed back, maybe he doesn't. But in fact, that backside hold just isn't there. They do a fantastic job. Makes it really hard on 55. And then you just see the run fits. Nobody's outside. Because of that 3 technique, kind of get moved off the spot. We got the safety is at the corner that goes all the way inside, has to go back out and make the play. All right, so as you can see, like their spread on this game is 14.5 points. In an NFL football game, the spread is 14.5 points. Now the Packers have, the 0-1-1 in the last 2 games, but 14.5 points in the national. This isn't like FCS versus FBS. This is a statement about where the Cincinnati Bengals are, how where their threats are. That you look at this team again, you kind of go back to it, and it's like Hendrickson, Chase. That's it. They've got other good NFL football players on their teams. I like their linebackers. Obviously, they have a good stable of receivers. But you just look at where they're deficient and what they're not doing well. I love Zach Taylor. I think he's a great guy. I worked with him in Miami. I'm a fan of his. This team needs to play a lot better. I hope they don't do it this weekend. This is Mike Wall. This is Block Party. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next time.